Would you return 50,000 naira if your stomach hadn't felt food in days? When your stomach speaks louder than your conscience, that's when the devil comes knocking. Samuel's hands trembled as he counted the crumpled note in his palm for the third time. 500 naira. That was all that stood between him and the empty darkness that had become his life. The money felt like dry leaves in his sweaty palms, and the metallic taste of desperation filled his mouth. His one-room apartment in Lagos told the story of a man fighting a losing battle. The walls, once painted bright yellow like his mother's favorite dress, now bore brown stains from the leaking roof. When the rains came, Samuel would place buckets around the room, listening to the steady drip, drop that reminded him of tears falling on concrete. 3 days, that's how long it had been since his last proper meal. The bread he bought yesterday was now just crumbs, and even those were gone. His throat felt like sandpaper, dry and rough from swallowing his pride so many times. Samuel was 28 years old, with dreams bigger than his circumstances. He'd come to Lagos 5 years ago with nothing but a one leather bag and a heart full of hope. Now that same heart felt heavy as a stone in his chest. The rejection letters from job interviews were stacked on his small table like tombstones, marking the death of his aspirations. "We'll call you," they all said. But the phone, an ancient Nokia that barely held charge, remained silent as a graveyard at midnight. Outside his window, Lagos pulsed with life. Cars honked like angry geese. Vendors called out their wares in voices that carried the melody of survival. And somewhere in the distance, a child's laughter reminded him of better days. But inside his room, Samuel sat in the growing darkness, wondering if tomorrow would bring hope or just another day of empty promises. His stomach growled again, a sound that had become his unwanted companion. The hunger wasn't just physical anymore, it was emotional, spiritual, knowing at everything he thought he knew about himself. What happens when a good man faces impossible choices? Stay tuned to find out what Samuel discovers about himself when temptation comes knocking.
Opportunity knocked on Samuel's door, but he came dressed like trouble. The knock came at exactly 7 p.m., sharp and confident, like the person behind it owned the world. Samuel's heart jumped. Nobody visited him anymore. Friends had scattered like seeds in the wind when his money ran out, leaving only echoes of better times. "Who's it?" Samuel called out, his voice hoarse from thirst. "Open up, young man. I have something that will change your life forever." The voice was smooth as palm wine, rich and persuasive. Samuel's hand hesitated on the door handle. In Lagos, when strangers promise to change your life, they usually mean they want to end it. But curiosity, that dangerous companion of desperate men, made him turn the key. The man standing in his doorway looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. His black suit was so sharp he could cut glass, and his shoes gleamed like mirrors under the dim corridor light. Gold teeth flashed when he smiled, and the heavy scent of expensive cologne mixed with something else, something that reminded Samuel of his father's warning about snakes in silk clothes. "Samuel Okafor," the man said, not asking, but stating. "I'm Chief Williams. I've been watching you." A chill ran down Samuel's spine like ice water. "Watching me? Why?" Chief Williams pushed past him into the small room, and his eyes scanned the poverty like a vulture studying carrion. "I see potential in young men who know how to struggle. Struggle builds character, and character can be very profitable." The chief's presence filled the tiny space like smoke, making the air thick and hard to breathe. He pulled out a phone, the latest iPhone, gold-plated and gleaming, and showed Samuel a photo. "This is my warehouse in Alaba Market. I need someone trustworthy to oversee special deliveries. Someone clean, someone the police would never suspect." The chief's smile widened, showing more gold. "Someone like you." Samuel's mouth went dry. Special deliveries. Everyone in Lagos knew what that meant. Drugs, weapons, things that destroyed families and communities, things that sent young men to prison or early graves. I don't understand, Samuel stammered, though he understood perfectly. Chief Williams reached into his jacket and pulled out a bundle of crisp 1,000 naira notes. The money was so fresh it still smelled like the mint, and the sound it made when he found it was like music to starving ears. 50,000 naira, just to start. After that, 10,000 naira every week for doing absolutely nothing but keeping your mouth shut and your eyes open. He placed the money on Samuel's rickety table, where it sat like a green temptation. The hunger in Samuel's belly roared like a caged lion. 50,000 naira. He could eat like a king for months. He could fix his roof, buy new clothes, maybe even visit his mother in the village. The money seemed to glow in the dim light, calling to him like a siren's song. Subscribe now to see if Samuel takes the money, because what happens next will shock you. But even as his hand reached toward the notes, something deep in his chest, maybe his father's voice, maybe his own conscience, whispered a warning that would change everything.
When you are drowning, even poison can look like water. Samuel's fingers stopped just inches from the money. The bills seemed to pulse like a living thing, each note representing a meal, a night without worry, a chance to be human again. His stomach cramped so violently he doubled over, and Chief William's laughter filled the room like the sound of coins clinking together. "I see you're a smart boy," the chief said, settling into Samuel's only chair like he owned it. "You understand opportunity when it bites you." But as Samuel stared at the money, memories flooded his mind like water through a broken dam. His father's calloused hands, teaching him to fix bicycles in their village workshop. His mother's tired eyes lighting up when he promised to make them proud in the big city. The weight of their sacrifices pressed down on his shoulders like stones. "What exactly would I have to do?" Samuel asked, his voice barely a whisper. The chief's smile turned predatory. "Nothing illegal, my boy. Just receive packages, store them, pass them along when instructed. Simple business transactions." The lie hung in the air between them like smoke, and they both knew it. Samuel had grown up in Lagos long enough to know that simple business that paid this much always came with blood on the money. "I need time to think," Samuel said, surprised by the strength in his own voice. The chief's expression hardened for just a moment, like a mask slipping. Then the smile returned, but it felt colder now, dangerous. "Time?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Look around you, boy. Look at your life. You are thinking of waiting for what? Another rejection letter? Another day without food?" He stood up, his presence looming over Samuel like a shadow. "I'll give you until tomorrow evening, but opportunities like this, they don't wait forever, oh." He moved towards the door, then paused. "Oh, and Samuel, keep the money tonight. Consider it a taste of what's to come." His gold teeth glinted in the dim light. Sometimes a man needs to feel what prosperity tastes like before he can make the right choice. The door slammed shut, leaving Samuel alone with the money and the sudden silence that felt louder than screams. His hands shook as he picked up one of the bills. It was real, crisp and new, smelling of possibility and danger. He held it up to the light, seeing how the security features shimmered like tiny miracles. The hunger in his stomach had become a living creature, clawing at his insides. His neighbor's TV murmured through the wall, and he caught fragments of a news report about young men arrested in a drug bust. The coincidence felt like a slap from God. Samuel walked to his small mirror, cracked down the middle, like his life, and stared at his reflection.
His cheekbones jutted out sharp as knives, his eyes were sunken with exhaustion, and his clothes hung on him like rags on a scarecrow. What kind of man was he becoming? And more importantly, what kind of man would he choose to be? The money sat on the cable behind him, and he could feel its presence like heat from a fire. In the growing darkness of his room, Samuel faced the hardest question of his life. Will Samuel take the easy path to riches, or will something unexpected change his mind? The answer will surprise you.
Sometimes, the loudest voice is the one that speaks in silence. That night, Samuel lay on his thin mattress with the money spread beside him like falling leaves. Sleep ran away from him like a frightened child, leaving him alone with thoughts that cut deeper than hunger. The 50,000 naira felt warm against his skin, but something cold had settled in his chest, a feeling like ice water in his veins. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw his father's face on the day he'd left for Lagos. "My son," his father had said, gripping Samuel's shoulders with hands that bore the honest scars of hard work. "In this world, you will face many tests. Some will test your body, some your mind, but the hardest tests are the ones that challenge your soul. Remember, when you compromise your integrity, you lose more than money. You lose yourself." The memory hit Samuel like a physical blow. He sat up in the darkness, his heart pounding like drums at a funeral. The money beside him suddenly felt different, not like salvation, but like chains waiting to wrap around his soul. A dog barked somewhere in the distance, and the sound reminded him of his childhood pet, a scraggly mutt named Hope, who had followed him everywhere. Hope had died protecting their chickens from a thief, choosing death over betrayal. Even a dog had more honor than he was about to show. Samuel's phone buzzed, a text message that made his blood freeze. "Tomorrow evening, don't disappoint me, Chief Williams." The threatening undertone was clear as broken glass. This wasn't just about accepting money anymore. Chief Williams wasn't the type of man who accepted no easily. He had heard whispers in the streets about people who had crossed the chief. Some had simply disappeared. Others had been found floating in Lagos Lagoon. Fear crawled up his spine like a spider, but alongside it came something else. A quiet strength he hadn't felt in months. His grandmother's voice echoed in his memory, sharing the old folk tale about the fisherman who refused to sell his net to the devil, even when his family was starving. "The devil's gold always turns to ash in your hands, my child," she said, her ancient eyes twinkling with wisdom earned through decades of hardship. "But the gold you earn with clean hands, that shines forever." Samuel stood up and walked to his small window. Outside, Lagos sprawled endlessly under the night sky. Millions of people struggling, surviving, making choices between right and wrong every single day. Some chose the easy path and paid with their souls. Others chose the hard road and found something more valuable than money. He thought about the warehouse Chief Williams had mentioned. How many young people like himself had been trapped by that easy money? How many mothers would cry when their children never came home? How many families would be destroyed by whatever poison flowed through that place? The hunger in his stomach was still there, gnawing and demanding, but now another hunger had awakened, a deeper one. The hunger for self-respect, the hunger to look at himself in the mirror without shame, the hunger to be the man his parents had raised him to be. Samuel picked up the money with hands that no longer trembled. Each bill felt heavy now, weighted with the dreams it could buy and the nightmares it would bring. As dawn approached, painting the sky the color of hope, Samuel made a choice that would echo through generations. What Samuel does next will shock you. But first, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss these powerful stories that could change your life. When a poor man chooses honor over gold, even angels stop to watch.
The sun was setting over Lagos like a golden coin dropping into the ocean when Chief Williams' car pulled up outside Samuel's building. The black Mercedes gleamed like a predator's hide, and the sound of its engine was smooth as a serpent's whisper. Samuel had spent the entire day preparing for this moment. He'd washed his only good shirt, pressed his one pair of decent trousers, and combed his hair until he lay flat as a prayer mat. If he was going to face the devil, he would do it with dignity. The knock came sharp and impatient. Samuel opened the door to find Chief Williams flanked by two men who looked like they could break bones as easily as breaking bread. The chief's smile was gone now, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Well, my young friend," Chief Williams said, pushing into the room without invitation, "I trust you've made the sensible choice." Samuel's heart hammered against his ribs like a caged bird, but his voice remained steady. "I have made a choice, sir." "Good boy." The chief rubbed his hands together like a man warming himself at a fire. "Where are my boys? They'll help you move your things to the warehouse tonight. No need to delay when money is waiting." Samuel walked to his table where the money lay in a neat pile. His hands were steady now, powered by a peace that came from somewhere deeper than fear. He picked up the notes and held them out to Chief Williams. "I'm returning your money, sir." The silence that followed was so complete that he could hear his own heartbeat. Chief Williams stared at the offered bills like they were poisonous, his face shifting through confusion, disbelief, and finally rage. "Are you mad?" The chief's voice was deadly quiet, more terrifying than if he had shouted. "Do you know who you're refusing?" "I know exactly who I'm refusing. I'm refusing to become something I'm not. I'm refusing to sell my soul for money that will turn to ash in my hands." One of the bodyguards stepped forward, cracking his knuckles like breaking twigs, but Chief Williams raised the hand to stop him. The chief's eyes had turned black as storm clouds, and when he spoke, his voice carried the chill of a grave. "You foolish boy. Do you think this is a game? Do you know what happens to people who disrespect me in this city? I could have you disappear tonight. No one would ever find your body." Samuel's knees wanted to buckle. His mouth went dry as sand, but something inside him, maybe his father's courage, maybe his mother's prayers, maybe his own stubborn pride, kept him standing tall. "Then do it," Samuel said quietly. "But I won't change my mind. I'd rather die poor and clean than live rich and dirty." For a moment that stretched like eternity, the two men stared at each other. Chief Williams' face went through a dozen emotions before settling on something between respect and fury. "You have no idea what you're giving up," the chief hissed, snatching the money from Samuel's hands with violent jerks. "This city will eat you alive. You will starve in the streets while smarter men feast in palaces." "Maybe," Samuel nodded, "but I'll starve as myself, not as somebody else's puppet." Chief Williams stormed toward the door, his bodyguards trailing behind like shadows. At the threshold, he turned back one last time. "Mark my words, boy, you will regret this. When you're dying of hunger, when the world turns its back on you, remember that Chief Williams gave you a chance and you threw it away like garbage." The door slammed shut with such force that dust fell from the ceiling like snow. Samuel stood alone in his tiny room, poorer than ever, but feeling richer than any man alive. But the story isn't over. What happens to a man who chooses integrity over easy money? Will Samuel survive his decision, or will Chief Williams' threats come true? When you plant seeds of integrity, the harvest may be slow, but it feeds generations. 3 months had passed since Samuel turned away Chief Williams' blood money, and the struggle had been real as broken bones. There were days when the hunger was so fierce, it felt like wild animals fighting in his stomach. There were nights when he lay shivering under his thin blanket, wondering if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. But something had changed in Samuel, something that no amount of money could buy. When he looked in his cracked mirror now, he saw a man he could respect. His cheekbones were still sharp from hunger. His clothes still hung like rags. But his eyes held a light that hadn't been there before. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning that started like any other day of disappointment. Samuel was walking back from yet another failed job interview when he heard shouting from a nearby electronics shop. Through the window, he saw a young woman arguing with a man in expensive clothes, Chief Williams. "I told you I don't want your money," she was saying, her voice shaking with fear and anger. "I won't let you use my shop for your illegal business." Samuel recognized her. Grace, the daughter of the shop owner who had died 6 months ago. She was trying to run the business alone, and clearly, Chief Williams had come calling with his poisonous offers. Before he could think twice, Samuel pushed through the shop door. Grace looked at him with desperate eyes, while Chief Williams spun around with fury, twisting his features. "You, the fool who thinks poverty is a virtue," the chief snarled. "The man who knows the price of his soul," Samuel replied, stepping beside Grace. "And I'm here to tell this young lady that she's making the right choice." Chief Williams laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. "Ha! Look at yourself, boy. Still dressed in rags, still hungry, still nothing. Is this what your precious integrity has bought you?" Samuel looked down at his worn clothes, felt the familiar aching hunger in his belly, and smiled. A real smile that came from somewhere deep inside. "It's bought me the ability to sleep peacefully at night. It's bought me the right to look children in the eyes without shame. It's bought me the respect of the only person whose opinion truly matters, myself." Something in Samuel's voice, some quality of unshakable conviction, made Grace stand straighter. She looked Chief Williams in the eye and said, "Get out of my shop, now!" Chief Williams' face went dark with rage, but something had shifted. His threats felt empty now, powerless against the simple dignity of two people who refused to be bought. He stormed out, his bodyguards trailing behind like deflated balloons. Grace turned to Samuel, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she whispered. "I was so scared, but seeing you stand up to him, it gave me courage." We all need courage sometimes. The question is whether we find it when it matters most. That conversation changed everything. Grace offered Samuel a job in her shop. Not much money, but honest work with honest people. Within 6 months, his reputation for integrity had spread through the market. Customers trusted him, suppliers respected him, and slowly, steadily, his life began to rebuild. 2 years later, Samuel stood in his new apartment, still small, but clean and bright, with windows that didn't leak. He was wearing a simple suit he'd bought with money earned through sweat and honesty. On his table sat a letter from his parents, proud of their son who had chosen the hard path and found it led to something better than gold. Chief Williams? The newspapers reported his arrest 6 months after Samuel's refusal. The warehouse in Alabama Market was raided, revealing a drug operation that had destroyed countless lives. The young men who had taken Chief Williams' money were either dead or in prison. Samuel folded the newspaper and walked to his window, looking out over Lagos. The city pulsed with the same energy as before, but now he saw it differently. He saw the millions of people making choices every day, some choosing the easy path of corruption, others choosing the hard road of integrity. His phone buzzed with a text from Grace, now his business partner and soon to be his wife. "Dinner with my family tonight. They want to thank the man who saved their daughter's business and taught her that some things matter more than money." Samuel smiled, feeling the warm satisfaction that comes from not what you own, but who you choose to be. He had learned that integrity isn't just about saying no to corruption. It's about saying yes to the person you want to become. In life, we all face moments where we must choose between what is easy and what is right. The easy path often promises quick rewards, but those rewards come with chains that bind our souls. The right path may be harder, longer and lonelier, but it leads to something money cannot buy: the respect of your own conscience and the peace of knowing that you chose to be the hero of your own story. Samuel's choice reminds us that integrity isn't about being perfect, it's about being authentic. It's about choosing to be the person your best self will be proud of, even when no one is watching, even when you are hungry, even when the world seems to reward the corrupt and punish the honest. Remember this: your character is your true wealth. Guard it more carefully than any treasure, because unlike money, which can be stolen or lost, your integrity is something that only you can give away. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power we all have to choose who we become, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that challenge us to be the best versions of ourselves. Because in a world that often rewards shortcuts, sometimes the greatest rebellion is simply choosing to do the right thing.